Okay, so my name's John Berton, often known as John Andrew Berton Jr., in honor of my lovely father. I grew up in the Midwest Great Lakes region, so Ohio, Indiana, and Wisconsin, mostly in Ohio, actually. I went to school at Denison University in Granville, which is just outside Columbus, and my graduate work was at Ohio State. So hung around Central Ohio for quite a while before getting involved in the world of CGI and visual effects. I was mostly interested in radio announcing and broadcasting. It grew out of my love of music, and that when I arrived at Denison, the radio station was the thing. That was really where all the cool stuff was going down as far as I was concerned. And that was the beginning of my working with electronics as it relates to art. So that was my main course of study. I also started out as a sort of dual major in art and physics, neither of which worked out particularly well because physics was really too hard, and I didn't have the training in the art per se for what was going on there. And then I got attracted by the electronics and the music and that stuff, and moved into the communications work there. I started working in this dual pattern with electronic analog music and electronic video signal processing. And this sort of went hand in hand in terms of translating from the audio into the visual and then working them together as a synthesis. So, and that was all based on the idea of making sounds and pictures that were not things that you'd ever seen before. We also have this other person on the other side of the campus that we are equally bewildered by what he is doing. And this was Charles Surrey. And he was doing computer graphics, had been doing computer graphics art since 1964. So you got to think about this for a second. This is 20 years previous, well, 15, to my arrival on the scene in 1981. And this man had been doing digital artwork for already 15 years.
That's crazy.
And he showed me the synthesized work that they were doing, which was these crystal balls bouncing on a mirrored plate. And
pencils for some reason.
The pencils came later, but yes, pencils were because that was an organic object. See, everything that was in the movie before the pencils was made up out of glass. It was pure ray trace reflections. When we put pencils in there, that was the introduction of image-based textures as a part of a ray tracing algorithm. And okay, that was brand new. That was a new thing no one had ever done. So that's why the pencils came into it. But the one I saw was before the pencils. And it was just a crystal ball bouncing on a mirror. And I was like, okay. And they said, here's how this was done. Now, fortunately, I had background in computer because I had started out in physics at Denison. And I had started out doing computer science at Denison. And my father was a mathematics professor who worked with computers. So I had been growing up with computers since, 1970 or something. So I at least understood how they worked. I had computer merit badge, okay? So that was back in 1970. And so here in the time period we're talking about is 1981. And because of this understanding of computer science to a certain degree, I was able to grok what they were doing. And when I got that, I was like, wait a minute. I immediately saw the logical extension. I could see that with this tool, able to create a photorealistic rendering of something that was only described mathematically. That meant you could literally make any movie that you could ever imagine making. It didn't matter how surrealistic or non-realistic or fantastical it was. You would be able to make a believable picture of this thing. And that was a nirvana of filmmaking creativity.